Hello, it's fish and chips. Today on Let's Cook. Hi, welcome to Let's Cook, where we are making some fish and chips today. Now, I'm going to show you how to portion a halibut. Before I do that, let's take a look at today's menu because we are doing more than fish and chips. We have a pan-seared halibut with the coriander, apricot, and chive compote. Then we're doing fish and chips Paul style, and then to top it all off, a spiced fish burger with tartar sauce. Out of this world. Now, my glasses are clean. Now I can see what I'm doing. To come to our fish over here, I have this beautiful piece of halibut right here. It's out of this world. Now, this has no odor to it. It's nice and firm. I've already skinned it here. Now, I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. To clean this up, I'm going to take off whatever I want because that's going to go into my spiced fish burger. And I like this to cook nice and evenly. So I'm going to take my knife right here, take off this side right here. That I can use to go into my fish burger. Then I'm going to come over here, cut this down on an angle this way. Beautiful. Come over here. Take this off right here. I think that's a beautiful portion. Actually, this is a big enough portion for two people. We'll come right here, right in the middle here, where there might be a little cartilage, it might be a little fish here. You see the darker colored flesh here? This I'll also save for that. Have a beautiful piece of fish here to make my coriander crusted halibut. Now, to make our fish, or I actually need to start the coriander crusted halibut today. I'm going to come over here. I have some Wondra flour. The texture of Wondra flour, and Wondra flour comes in that little blue container in the supermarket. It has a, like a very fine sand, has a great texture. I'm going to add some coriander to this. It's going to give it a great flavor. Then, a little bit of salt, a little bit more salt, and I'm using sea salt with this. And then just a little bit of pepper here. So I have my flour seasoned. Now I'll take my fish, and I'll also season my fish with a little bit of pepper here, a little bit of salt, and we'll do this on both sides. Now, fish is one of the few things that, well, it's not one of the few things, but it is one of the foods that you can cook and season with salt and pepper when you're done with it as well. So now this is good to go. Put that in here. Now we'll heat our pan. Our pan, I'm going to add just enough oil to coat the bottom of the pan. And I'm using safflower oil for this. The reason I'm using safflower oil is I don't want an oil that's really going to, I want it to become very light, especially with the apricot, the compote I'm going to make with this. I'd like this to be nice and light. So I'm going to get this going right here. Make sure that the oil almost starts to smoke before I drop it in. Then with my fish here, I'm only going to crust the top part right here. So I'm only going to crust this part right here. The skin side, I'm going to start up in the pan, and the bone side's going to go down so that my crust is only going to be on the one side here. So we're going to go ahead, drop this in the pan. When you drop this in the pan, it's a very good idea. Drop it so that it falls away from you. And we're going to cook that on the crust side first, and then you can either finish this in a pan, or you could take this and put this into the oven to cook it. If you're going to put it into the oven, put it in a slower oven. Let it just cook till it's just opaque on the inside. It's going to take roughly, probably about 10 minutes in the oven for this thickness of halibut. We need to take a little break right now while I get my halibut going. But then when we come back, I'm going to show you how to finish this delicious pan-seared halibut. It's fish and chips today. Let's cook. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Let's Cook, where we are making fish and chips today. You know something about fish? It's an excellent source of protein, a good source of minerals, and it's low in fat, cholesterol, and sodium. And sodium? No, there's no such thing as sodium. Sodium. Now, there's something interesting about halibut itself. As a matter of fact, I found this very interesting because the halibut liver, in particular, produces high-quality cod liver oil, and it's rich in vitamins as well. So you would think cod liver comes from the codfish. Halibut, the halibut liver. Okay, now, let's take a look at our halibut that we have in a pan here. You can see here that I'm going to start to baste this, and this has just been cooking just while we were at break. Now I'm going to take my halibut now, just for the halibut, and I'm going to turn this over. See that great crust we have there? Doesn't that look fantastic? Now I'm going to take and baste this. Let this continue to cook here a little bit. While that's cooking now, we'll get our ingredients ready for our sauce. Now, we're using some apricots right here. If you can buy fresh apricots, that's great. If you have dried, you could use dried. Or if you go into your supermarket and they have them in the jars, you can use them there. We're just going to go ahead and remove the pit here from the apricot right there. We're going to take that out. Then I have a beautiful leek right here. I'm going to take the leek. I'm not going to use any of the green part over here. I'm primarily going to use the white part here. So I'll take this, I'll cut this down this way. Then, because I want it to be very fine, I'm going to separate my leek this way. And this way I can take the leek and I can actually flatten it out here. And I can cut it down into nice thin julienne strips. It's a good thing to do for cooking, because this will cook nice and uniformly, and it's going to look really pretty when I finish the halibut. So then this other part right here, again, we'll take a little bit more of this, separate this here, and again, we can flatten this out with our hand, holding it down, and take this down. Isn't that beautiful? Love leeks. So we have our leeks ready to go. Now my halibut is now ready to come out of the dish here. So I'll just use this plate right here. Take my halibut out. Place this in the oven to finish cooking. So we'll get that in the oven right there so that can finish cooking. And now we're going to make our sauce. Before we make our sauce, however, in the pan here to cook it, I had a little bit too much fat. So it's a good idea right here to remove that excess fat. You want to get rid of that excess fat. Then we'll take our leeks. I'm just going to cut these down in half one more time here because they're a little too long. Take these, we cut these down. We're going to start these into the pan. While our leeks are in here, this is where we get to play with a little bit of wine. So I'm just going to add a little bit of white wine to this. Hello, hello. Okay. Let that wine cook down with those leeks. Notice the color that just came out of the leeks. Here's where we add a little bit of salt to this. Get that great color going there. Now with our apricots, we'll just take the apricots and we're just going to slice them down nice and thin this way. They don't have to be perfect. They go real well with this. And I have one other side here. I'll do this too, and I'll just get this all in there. There we are. Add my apricots to this now. All we have to do with the apricots now is we have to soften them. But in order to soften them, notice our wine is totally gone from the pan, which means that we've really extracted the flavor there of the wine. Our leeks are nice and soft. Here we go. A little bit of nectar there. Oh, out of this world. Then a little bit of honey here too. Just a little bit of honey. See that? So we have the white wine, a little bit of honey, the apricots, salt and pepper, and just let this cook down a little bit. Now, if you don't have, let's say you don't have apricot nectar, you could use apple juice in this. You could even use a fish stock if you wanted in this. But this, it gives it a really, really nice flavor. Now, to finish this sauce, we simply will let this come up to a boil, taste the sauce to make sure it tastes good. Ooh. That's very good. However, needs just a little bit of butter here to tighten it up. It is craving just a pinch of salt there. And then we'll just finish it with some of our chives right here. Come back over here to the oven now, because just for the halibut, it's done. This looks absolutely fabulous. And you know, a really nice presentation. If you did not want to plate this, look, just finish it right there. Serve it just with that right there. Doesn't that look out of this world? Okay, then baste this a little bit. This dish is now done. We're going to take a little break, but don't go away, because when we come back, I'm making fish and chips. We'll be right back after this. Hi, welcome back to Let's Cook. We've been making some recipes with halibut today, but before we get started, I have a little halibut fact for you. Did you know halibut is the largest flat fish, weighing over 200 pounds, and the largest recorded halibut weighed 726 pounds and was over 15 feet long. Remind you of any family members? Not on my side. Okay, now time for the fish and chips. Now, I have some chips here, some potatoes, and what I did is I took the potato, peeled it, I sliced them very thin, so they're nice and uniform. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm just going to take these, pat them dry with a towel, and start to drop them in the oil so they can start to cook. I drop them in individually, that way they start to cook and they won't stick together. So we're going to get these into the oil here. Those are good. Now, while those are cooking, coming over here, I'm going to start to make the batter for my fish and chips. Now, normally when you make batter for fish and chips, you could use beer batter, you could use tempura batter, but it's eggs and liquid and an acid. I'm using a little cider vinegar. The first thing I'm going to do, however, is I'm going to take my egg whites right here in a copper bowl, and I'm going to start to whip these just till they start to take on soft peaks. When I pick these up like this, I'm going to take and just whip them in the bowl here just until they get a little soft. See how nice that looks? And this doesn't take too long, and it's really a good workout. And when you do this, you're going to really want to eat these fish and chips. So just whipping my egg whites. This is just so I have a separate leavening agent, and that's going to be the air that I'm putting into the egg whites. So see how we have our egg whites here? They're already ready to go. Isn't that beautiful? Let's get a nice shot on this. Doesn't that look good? Beautiful. Good. Now, so those are good to go. The other thing I'm going to do is in my bowl right here, I'm going to take the yolks from my egg whites, a little bit of vinegar here, some ice water or seltzer, nice and cold, and I'm going to mix this separately. So now I have my eggs really well distributed. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of flour to this at a time till I have the consistency that requires. It's going to require a little bit more liquid, but that's going to be in the form of my egg whites. A little bit more flour in there, almost like a pudding. See, just about this consistency right here. This will work. Season this with just a little bit of salt, a little bit more salt. Seafood, a little bit more. Those were very small pinches. A little bit of pepper here. Doesn't it look great? Now, my next step is then to take my egg whites that I have right here. I add the egg whites here to this mix now, and I fold the egg whites into the batter here so they get nice and light. Just using a little folding. And this is where my leavening is going to come for my fish and chips. Just fold it just till it comes together. This requires just a little bit of patience, but it's really well worth it. Once all the colors come together like this is good to go. So that's good. Next, on the agenda, let's come over here. We're just going to move our chips around here. Nice. Get these chips out of the way here. They're good to go. Now we're ready for our fish. We need to let the oil come up in the fryer a little bit too. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I have my fish right here where I took off one piece here, and I'm going to cut, we'll trim this off because I have to make a fish burger next. I'm going to cut this in a straight line here. Then we go this way, this way, this way, and this fish is going to cook nice and evenly now. Take this, again, don't be afraid, season it with salt. Use a little bit of white pepper here. Take a little bit of flour here. Put this in the flour here. Seasoned flour. Always make sure you're using seasoned flour here. Then we drop these into our batter, shaking off that excess flour. Now here's where the technique comes in. This is what we call a swimming technique. It kind of goes with the halibut, where we'll pick up our batter right here, make sure it's well coated, start it swimming in the oil like this before you drop it before you let it go. This way it won't stick. You see how it floats right away? Okay, I'm going to get the rest of this fish cooking here. We're going to take a little break, and then when we come back, I'm making a spiced fish burger with tartar sauce. Don't go away. It's Fish and Chips today on Let's Cook. We'll be back after this. Hi, welcome back to Let's Cook, where we are finishing our fish and chips. Now, we have our chips made here, and I have the fish here that we cooked with the batter right here. So now I'm going to take this and drain this on towels. Or, I remember when I was a kid, it was on newspapers. So we just take these, we'll remove these now. Drain these well. Then, to eat these, there's a couple of things you need to do. One, you need a little more salt on them. Secondly, a little bit of pepper. And thirdly, a little bit of vinegar. Oh, out of this world. Malt vinegar, white vinegar. Use balsamic vinegar if you like. It's really your choice. Okay? So that's our fish and chips. Now right here in this pan right here, I have my fish burger already going. And what I did is I formed this. I'm going to show you how to make this, but I'm just going to go ahead and turn this one over because this is now ready to be turned over. Let me show you how we make this fish burger. That's kind of backwards, isn't it? I have the scraps left over from my fish right here. So we have our halibut pieces right here. To this now, a little bit of salt, a little bit of basil there. We're going to use a little bit of parsley there, and a little bit of egg white, cayenne pepper, if you like a little heat. That's an optional thing. Take and we're just going to puree this now, grind this up nice and fine. Come in here. A lot of things going on today. I heard a noise over there. Something fell over here. But we just need it to be somewhat coarse like this. I'll just pulse this one more time. Now, next thing I'm going to do is right here, I have some panko breadcrumbs, or white breadcrumbs. The panko are the Japanese breadcrumbs. They're nice and crispy. They work real well. But if you even have just fresh breadcrumbs, then I'm going to put a ring mold in there. I'll take my fish mix here, put it right into that ring mold, and press this down. Just going to take and press this down. Isn't it great looking? Out of this world. Press that down so it's nice and level. We remove this, come over here, and just coat this gently with those. We'll pick this up now. Now if you want, you can do these ahead and put these in a refrigerator. They'll firm up nicely. And we're just going to start this cooking right now in the pan. Easy as pie. Now, let me just wipe off my hands here. Now what we're going to do now is we're just going to go ahead and start to plate this up. To make sure this is done, you're going to feel this. It's nice and firm. This was very fresh fish. You could also finish these in the oven. See, nice and golden brown, and that's cooked all the way through. Oh, I love this. I love a fish burger. It's so healthy. It's so good for you. Now, let's go ahead and plate this up. So I have my bun right here. I have some delicious tartar sauce here. Make sure you go to my website for this tartar sauce recipe. It's out of this world. I need a tomato. Pack a tomato, please. So, tomato came in a little low that time. So then we'll take our tomato right here. Flying tomato is a low-flying tomato we had today. A little bit of sliced tomato here. Okay, let's take our fish burger off here now. And now, again, very healthy for you. Make sure we pat that dry. Goes right on the bun here. A little bit of this delicious tartar sauce right here. Yeah, I meant for it to go half on the burger and half on the burger. A little bit of tomato right here because I want you to be able to see everything that's going on in this delicious fish burger today, just for the halibut. That's what we did today on Let's Cook. We did a little bit of halibut. Fun fish day. We did halibut three ways. There, first, our coriander crusted halibut with the compote made with leeks and a little bit of apricot. Then we did our fish and chips. One of my favorites. And last but not least, we did this delicious, wonderful fish burger with tartar sauce, so you can make spicy or not spicy. It's really hard to talk when you have potato chips in your mouth. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to take a little bit of fish and chips over here, start to eat them. Wish you and everybody out there a halibut day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.